Beyonce most recently, due to her formation tour and things like that, it's like she quotes the Malcolm X quote, the most disrespected woman in America is the black woman. And while to a certain extent, this is very true, but then the most disrespected man in America is the black man. Okay. So at some point, we all have to learn to take care of one another. We're not in this fight by ourselves, black. Calling all of my black girls. Welcome to Circle Purple, Purple's Conversation, the podcast, a black girl's conversation about faith, soul, and my opinion. Hello, welcome to episode 3. I am Ty Young, founder of Circle Purple. So if you're listening this week, unless you've been living under a rock, you already know about the tragic passing of Kobe Bryant. And you know what? Like I wasn't a sports fan, so to speak. Like I enjoy sports. Actually, my favorite sport would be football. But I wouldn't say like I was a sports fan, but I know the game and I know some of the prominent players and things of that nature. I grew up with Kobe. When he got into the NBA and all that good stuff. I was a basketball girlfriend. Like my boyfriend in high school was a basketball player. So, of course you can't be that far removed from what's going on growing up. And when he passed, it was just unbelievable. And it was shocking. And it was just like, wow, I can't believe that, he died like that and so soon because he was still young. But the thing I noticed about Kobe is that he was loved. And it's like almost even if you hated him, or even I hate is such a strong word to use right now in this moment, but even if you wasn't a fan of him or because of whatever team that you loved and he rivaled or whatever, it was like something about him that you still just kind of dead, like can't believe he gone. And just the way that a lot of the men, that I know personally and like just observation on social media, the way that they just were so heartbroken by the passing of this man, it just kind of reminded me or gave me an additional reminder that black men are important. They are important to our lives. They carry a strength that I think sometimes we don't even recognize or we fail to, we overlook it sometimes. We know black women are strong. We always get the strong black woman, but it's strong black men out here. It's men out here, despite of what they try to put in the media and the stereotypes about black men, and even what some black folks say about some black men. I know more good black men than I know bad black men, and I just hurt for those that have lost their idol. Like I hurt for those that lost somebody, their role model, the person that they looked up to, the person that meant something to them. I hurt for those men that felt moved enough that they couldn't even stop themselves from crying about this man's death. And, it's just something about holding up the black man and lifting him up and keeping him lifted that I'm so passionate about. I'm passionate about ensuring that we continue to pursue to uplift our black men. A lot of times as black women, we want to feel uplifted and we want to feel, as something that Beyonce most recently, due to her formation tour and things like that, it's like she quotes the Malcolm X quote, the most disrespected woman in America is the black woman. And while to a certain extent, this is very true, but then the most disrespected man in America is the black man. Okay? So at some point, we all have to learn to take care of one another. We're not in this fight by ourselves. You know, black women aren't in the fight for themselves by themselves, and black men are in the fight for themselves by themselves. You know, forget about all that extra stuff that go on in the media. I know the Terry Crews situation is very high in the media for kind of like what he did to Gabrielle Union, and that's just for me a small piece of the puzzle that I don't ignore, but I choose to look at the bigger picture. And black men, in my opinion, they feel alone. They feel left out. They feel, I know how I feel as a black woman, you know, and I can go on a rant about that. I can go on a tangent about that. And I'm going to talk about that in episodes, but I just feel led to talk to the black men. I love black men. I'm raising a black man. So it, I guess for me, it's my duty as a mother to ensure that when my son gets older, that I have some type of fight in it, so that when he gets older, that he's in a different space. He's experiencing a different world as a black man. I guess, you know, that's what I'm trying to say. So, you know, Kobe, um, even when I watched, you know, because of course they're putting a lot of his old interviews and things like that in the media, and I can't say that when he was alive that I was, you know, drawn to them or anything like that, because again, I wasn't a huge basketball fan, definitely not a Lakers fan, you know. So it was just like, okay, whatever. If I caught it, I caught it. And if I didn't, I didn't. But as I'm watching these interviews and just the way he carried himself and the way the sophistication and the poise and the big smile and just everything about him, what I saw was a man that was just determined. He was determined to just be this he was just determined to be this strong force. I can also see, you know, another thing that I also saw was how you could tell that Michael Jordan was a big influence on his life. And I saw a lot of some of the same like characteristics and movements and mannerisms that Michael Jordan may have displayed that Kobe may have had. And I don't think that it was just because he was just trying to copy him or imitate him. I really felt like he respected this man for who he was, but then he added his own little sauce to it. He added, you know, Kobe to it. He added the Mamba mentality to who he was. And, you know, even with his daughters and how he just respected his daughters and wanted to be a better man for his daughters. Despite what has gone on in his life or, you know, in the media or whatever about him. And even you could tell like I love the fact that, you know, it may have been people that had things to say about him, you know, because of his controversy that he had when he was 24 years old. But you could tell he was not going to let that stop him. He wasn't going to let that control his life. He wasn't going to let that control the outcome of the other half of his life, because he did live till he was 41. So he had some good years to, you know, to live and to keep going, because yeah, that type of thing, if you don't handle it personally within yourself the correct way, it could tear you down and mess you up. So with all that being said, I pray for his wife. I pray for the three daughters that's left behind. I pray for all the families that were also touched by this tragedy, because we don't know the severe impact. We can only imagine the impact that it's having on the the lives of the families that are affected by this. But man, my heart goes out to them. And I just, pray for peace. I pray that, that it doesn't turn into a worse situation. That as these people get older, that they're not in the headlines for some type of mental breakdown or drug abuse or anything like that. That, and I'm not saying that to put it into the atmosphere, just saying that we gotta pray about those things, because tragedy, you don't know what type of things that tragedy triggers in people, or underlying things that's in people that could be there, and that a tragic situation triggers for them. So it's like we got to pray for their sanity. We got to pray for their peace. We got to pray for everything for them, and that they can still live successful, prosperous lives in the midst of this situation. So yeah, that's all I got to say about Kobe. Yeah. So we're gonna move on to something a little bit less heavy. Okay. So now on to the main part of this episode, To Love a Black Man, part 2. So in this episode of To Love a Black Man, I'm going to talk about two more movies. So the first movie is Love Jones, which came out in 1997, and then the second movie is Baby Boy, which came out in 2001. Now, these two movies, they are they are special to me because now I'm at an older part, older moments in my life, and I'm a little bit older, and I have experienced a lot more since the other two movies that I talked about, which was Poetic Justice and Jason's Lyric. So with these two movies, I'm a little bit older, and I've experienced some things. So when Love Jones came out, that was in 1997. I was a freshman in high school. Okay. And I remember my aunt was talking about this movie when it came out, and because I was so young, I know for sure that I didn't see the movie when it first came out. I'm sure that I saw it on cable or on DVD or something like that. But I remember at the time, by the time this movie came out, my dating life had evolved a bit. I was most likely, well, at this time, I'm not sure if I was dating my high school sweetheart yet, but I was dating another guy before him. So I don't think my high school sweetheart, I was dating him just yet, but I was dating another guy, and he was an older guy. And I had always been a person, or like as I began to date, like when I turned like 12 and 13, so if I'm a freshman in high school, I'm no more than 14 years old. But like, yeah, at 12, 13 years old, the guys or the boys that I would talk to were a bit older than me, like maybe 2 or 3 years older than me. So you're talking about at 13 years old, I could have very well been talking to a 16, 14, 15-year-old boy. And I remember even in high school, I was talking to somebody, and he was about 3 or 4 years older than me. So when Love Jones came out, and I did eventually see it, I can remember just like looking at this movie in a different way, because now I'm noticing different things about boys that I might not have noticed when I was a little bit younger, right? So I even so also remember like back then looking at Darius and Nina's relationship, like I did not appreciate the what the cultured laid back person that Darius was. Um I didn't really understand him to a certain extent, really. But I just remember like looking at their love story and just being so intrigued by it. Because still, even at the time, even though I might have been in relationships with boys, it was an illiterate relationship as what I really would understand as a woman, and because I was just a little girl, when I even look back on it. So I didn't really know what I was really getting myself into when I was dating and dealing with these boys. I'm just being a girl talking to boys. So right. But what I appreciated about him was just like the softness that he did have towards Nina in some of the scenes, and just the the way he was, and with his poetry and all of that, and just kind of like them two having something in common when it came to being creative and things like that. Um, but you know what? It's like when I realized, it's like as I got older and was like really experiencing things, the one thing I go back to look at is that I was so mad at Darius because he just didn't. When she said that she was going to New York with her boyfriend, it was like, why couldn't he be open enough to say, no, Nina, I don't want you to go? Like, why couldn't he express that? And I never really understood that. And then just like just even going to the soundtrack and just talking about the soundtrack, and I remember just being so in love with the soundtrack, so in love with the mellow, smooth version of Maxwell's something something, and just being all into it, and then even being all into the song Love Jones. I forget the name of the group. Um, that sang that song, but I just remember just being so in love with it. And then we move on to Baby Boy, right? Baby Boy came out now with 2019. It was around my birthday time. I remember it was around my birthday time. I was 19 years old, and Baby Boy came out. Now, of all the movies that I talked about and that I'm going to talk about in this To Love a Black Man series, this is the first time that I am watching a movie with a character that I relate to, and that is Yvette. I was Yvette, and I had my Jody, and my Jody was the guy that I was in love with when I was in high school. And when I saw her on screen, I was like, oh my God, finally a character that I relate to and that appears to understand what I'm going through with this man or boy at the time, but that understands what I'm going through with this man. And just the dynamics of that relationship, and the dynamics of Jody needing to get his life together, but this woman that just loved him, and it was just like all she wanted was for him to be with her. Like that's all she wanted. Like all that extra stuff, whatever he thought he needed to do, trying to be a man, trying to be whatever, like she didn't really care about that. She had this man's baby. She was in love with him, and she just wanted them to be a family. And I so related to that because that's how I felt like when I graduated from high school. And even though my high school sweetheart, he ended up going away to another school, and I ended up going away to another school, but then I came back home. But I thought we was gonna get married. Like I thought that was gonna be the love of my life. I thought we were just gonna have this movie type relationship, that we went from high school to being adults, and we got married and all this other stuff. So it broke my heart when we didn't get married. But what I want to say about these two movies is, as I watch these movies and as I embrace these movies and as these movies play over and over and over again in my mind and me visually watching them, I realized like I got a glimpse of the vulnerability of a man, and how they can be afraid to display their feelings, and how they can be afraid to display who they really are. And these movies caused me to just pay a little bit more attention, like as a writer and as a daydreamer. I know that any good fiction is really based off of real life. I know that. And so I understood that in these scripts of these two movies that there was some element of real life that was imparted into these movies. And even as I got older, I definitely understood that in Love Jones, like their their hookup was a typical situation that happens between two grown consenting adults, that you just, hey, you meet somebody, you attracted to him and he attracted to you, and y'all vibing with one another, and hey, y'all do the do, and you unexpectedly catch feelings, and then now you're navigating through this relationship trying to figure out, okay, how we're going to do this, because yeah, I'm catching feelings, but I've only known you for 2 seconds, so it's okay. So is it okay? You begin to ask yourself, is it okay for me to try to lock you down and things like that? And then even with Jody and Yvette and Baby Boy, like Jody was still trying to figure out what he wanted to do. He loved Yvette. I think he knew on the inside that he was going to be with her, but he trying to figure out, I don't know, is it like a waiting to see if something else is coming along? I don't know what that was about, but um I just really realized that in these movies, it's like, okay, men is afraid to show their vulnerability. I also too was afraid to show my vulnerability. I remember that I had to get drunk, to tell a person how I felt. Well, more so like a man. Like, I could be feeling this thing and I could be feeling some kind of way and love this man and all this other stuff, but like I couldn't express it. So a lot of times I would get me some alcohol and get nice and tipsy, and then that's when I want to pour all my love out to a man, whatever. But then I started like really studying men, and I started studying men and learning about them and learning to become their best friend and learning to just see what I can hear them say that they wasn't saying. You know what I'm saying? Hear the unspoken words that they weren't saying, that they couldn't say, that because what I learned about black men is that they hold a lot of secrets. Black men hold a lot of secrets. Black men hold a lot of things to themselves. Black men don't share a lot of things. And I think a lot of times what they're really looking for is that confidant, that somebody that can really be their vault. And so I learned to be a vault for a black man. I always wanted to be the ride or die chick, the girl that was gonna stick by you through anything, because that's just my natural character. I'm just naturally loyal. I'm naturally like, okay, I'm with you to the end. Like, if we together, like, unless you do something just crazy, crazy, I'm with you. I got your back. I'm with you to the end. But the thing about it is, I didn't know how to protect my heart. So while I was trying to be here and be there for these black men, I was finding myself getting hurt a lot, because I didn't know how to protect my heart in these situations. So, but just going back to understanding that black men, they just have, I feel like every black man got a piece, got a little boy in him that just wants somebody to see him. And I think sometimes they don't always want to be this strong person. Sometimes they want somebody to love them and take care of them and be there for them. And I think sometimes they just want to go somewhere and be able to rest their head and to have a space where they can release. Because when you really think about it, this world is so cruel. When they go out there into that world and they gotta be whatever it is that they're gonna be when they out there, and then to come home, while they do have to learn, in my opinion, they do have to learn to not take out on their person all the things that they're experiencing out in the world, but be able to open up and release and allow themselves to be loved. That's what I think. That's what I see. Black men, sometimes I don't think they allow themselves to be loved. I don't think they allow themselves to release it to another person and allow that person to be their safety net, because they always trying to be the strong one. They always trying to, that's just my opinion. I'm only speaking from my opinion. Some women may not have had this experience, whatever, um, with a black man. And it's a tug of war sometimes with the black man because it's like they want to let go. They want to let their guard down. They want to embrace somebody that's loving them because they know when they're loved. Let's get this understood. I believe they know when they're loved. They know when they got a good thing. They know all of these things that it's cliche. He ain't gonna know what he got until it's gone. He gonna realize too late when he got a good woman. And I feel like they do know all of these things, but we can't experience life through their eyes and through in the way that they experience life. I'm a black woman, so I only know how I experience life through my own eyes. But then when it comes to a black man, we don't know all the ins and outs and nuances that they go through in life that will cause them to be so um what's the word I want to use that will cause them to be so resistant to the love of a black woman and to cherish the love and to appreciate the love. And it's just like it's my passion, one black man at a time, to figure out a way that we can make sure that we stop this this epidemic in the black love community. Like, I want to stop the epidemic of these relationships that just are toxic or messed up or dysfunctional and all of that stuff. I want to stop that epidemic in the black love community because I want to experience real black love. And I have experienced it, but because either I was immature at the time or the person that I was dealing with wasn't in the space to really or the capacity to be able to accept my black love, like it just didn't work out at that time. But it is my endeavor to really just, I don't know, just get us all on one accord. Um, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know if other people feel this way. Um, the male ego is such a beautiful thing. It's a fragile thing, but it's yet a beautiful thing. When I look at black men and when I see black men, I see these beautiful creatures. I see and I'm saying this because I have a black son. And now that I'm dealing with a black son and I'm raising a black son and I see the sweetness of my black son, not sweetness as in what we think is sweet, but I mean just the sweetness and the purity and the sanctity of his heart and the sacredness of his heart and just how delicate it is. And then I can imagine that if something happens in his life that um that comes and disrupts this fragility that he has within himself, I can understand like how he can grow up and become somebody that he was never meant to be. I understand that as a woman raising a black son. So it's just my endeavor to cultivate a new experience of black love for black men and for my black son. I don't even know if y'all understand me. I don't even know if y'all understand me. But that was episode 3 of Purple Conversations. It's so much more that I could say, but I don't want to be going on and on and on. But yeah, so as y'all know, like this is how I talk to myself. I work through things by talking to myself, just figuring things out to be introspective and, tune in. every Friday, and we're going to have a purple conversation. You know, email me. Let me know y'all listening to me. Hit me up on Instagram at CIRCAPURPLE or Facebook on the CIRCAPURPLE page, or on YouTube on the CIRCAPURPLE channel, or on Twitter at my handle is at TyWaller24. So hit me up and let me know if y'all, that y'all listening to me and that y'all hear me. And let me know if it's something that you want me to talk about. Give me some topics. I got some topics and I got some episodes and things that I'm going to be talking about. But let me know if it's something in particular that is on your mind that you won't personally talk about, but you think I would talk about. Because I like to talk about the things that people don't like to talk about. So thank y'all for tuning in. And I will see y'all next week on Circle Purple, Purple Conversation. Bye. Thank you for tuning into Circle Purple, Purple Conversations. I enjoy talking to you all. As a certified life coach, I have a great passion to help women design a happy and fulfilling life. I endeavor to help you discover change and unlock your greatness. I like to say I'm an advocate for your potential. That's why I created 3 awesome journals to get you started on that path. The first journal is Busy and Not Broke, breaking the cycle of being overworked and underpaid. This is a strategic planner and journal for my entrepreneurs and creatives. The second journal is Over It, a Black Girl's Burn Book, Lessons Learned. With this journal, it allows you to process those negative experiences so that you are not bound to them and you can be free. The third journal is In Love, Me, Myself, and I, a journal about being in love with yourself and helping you stay there. You can purchase all 3 journals on the Circle Purple website, circlepurple.com/624life. That's circlepurple.com/SIX24LIFE. Right now I'm holding a special promotion where you can buy 2 and get 1 free with the code FREELIFE. That's FREELIFE.